Welcome in, everyone. Salute. Welcome to the post game live with CT on the road for the holidays. But our New York Knicks bounced back in a major way, defeating the Heat at the world's most famous 132 to 125. Man, this game was fun. It was exciting. The Knicks lost the first quarter, but won the second, third, fourth. And Jalen Brunson, man, his best scoring performance at Madison Square Garden in his career, 47 points. Man, he is unplayable right now. He's unstoppable. And the Miami Heat, man, could not slow him down. Kel'el Ware was a handful. Norm Powell got loose as well. We know these games mean a lot, man. It just feels great for the Knicks to bounce back. And the Knicks are 20-8 now on the season. Salute to Chris Gotti in the building. Everyone coming through. Live reaction. And our New York Knicks now, begin this great, this tough stretch in a great way. Obviously winning it at Madison Square Garden tonight. Now they'll face Minnesota on the road, back at home on Christmas Day against the Cavaliers. But in this one, man, I thought Mitchell Robinson, man, he was a huge factor. I thought he should have played more down the stretch. That's probably my only gripe. Obviously, the first quarter defensively, the Knicks were quite poor. But Mitchell Robinson, 10 free throws in a row now. The shooting coach, tip my cap. Mitchell Robinson working on his game, man, and that is a game changer, right? The crowd, the energy they fed off of that, man. Mitch knocking down those free throws, right? And it was a huge momentum swing. I thought Mikal Bridges had a great game, 21 points. Last I checked, the box score might still be updating, but Mikal Bridges hit some timely threes, guys, especially in transition. The Kolek chaos continues, man. Steady, good bounce back game from Kolek. Couldn't hit a couple of threes late, had to go to the bench, but gave the Knicks some big energy, big moments, right? Getting to the rack, the layup, getting into the paint, and the two-guard alignment with Jalen Brunson is starting to form a huge story for this season, right? Mike Brown trusting Tyler Kolek, fam, as the season progresses, right? We're still very young in the season. The Knicks are at 20-8. Kolek's getting major minutes, fam. That's a great story, as is Mitchell Robinson. But we're going to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns, right? A rough night from Karl-Anthony Towns. He let the whistle get in his head. The frustration was there. Picked up a technical early. Did well not to pick up, obviously, a second technical despite the frustrations. But I thought Hart played really well. The rebounding, Hart's defense stepped it up. Harquez was unstoppable in the first quarter. But, our guys really picked it up, including Hart as well. Rebecca's in the building. Tony, salute from Denver. Our New York Knicks bounce back. It feels great to get the big win over the Heat. Now, the season series, fam, I believe is now 2-1 in the Knicks' favor, right? Which is really, really important. And obviously, I think we have one more game in Miami. And we've got Minnesota up next. Tendrell, salute, yours truly. Happy holidays to everyone out here. Hope everyone's enjoying themselves, staying safe and blessed. Like I said, after the NBA Cup Championship, obviously the big win over Indiana and the last post game, the loss to Philadelphia was more of a schedule loss, but today to win the second, third, fourth quarter was real, basic domination after the first quarter. And our New York Knicks controlled the tempo, hit shots, moved the ball really well, but our three-point defense does have to, get cleaned up. Kel'el Ware, what a player he's looking to be, man. What a pickup from the Heat. I wanted the Knicks to look at Kel'el Ware, but obviously it wasn't to be. Mitchell Robinson is here, and he's absolutely monstering right now. And obviously he's our weapon off the bench now. But Mitchell Robinson hitting 10 free throws in a row, right, just goes to show that he's got that touch, right? Just needed to work on his game, maybe adjust, make a couple of tweaks. And big shout out to the coaching staff, the shooting coach, changing the form of Mitchell Robinson. So apparently he's putting it more in front, right? Before he was higher up, back above the head. Now it's closer in front, and it's looking comfortable. 10 in a row, right? That's no fluke. That is serious, tangible results for Mitchell Robinson hitting those free throws. As Al Tango says, Mitchie's on point. look, it's game changing. Think of deep in the playoffs. If they can't go this hacker Mitch and he's dominating the glass, he's getting blocks, he's getting stops. That's just going to change a whole lot. And obviously, the blocks tonight. OG Anunoby had a huge stretch where he got 2 big blocks too. Norm Powell, Harquez, they like to take it strong, but Miami, they've made improvements to their offense. They want to play a lot more fast. They want to get up and down, but they don't really have the personnel to do that for 48, in my opinion. They're going to run into traffic. They're going to run into a buzzkill, which is the New York Knicks defense, Mitchell Robinson, OG, Hart. But there was a lot of ticky-tack calls too. CC, salute. And yeah, our 3-point defense, guys, Khalil Ware obviously able to space the floor out. But if I'm Miami, I think they've got a real chance to get Giannis, right? If he does get traded this season, right? If you can put together a package of Khalil Ware, Tyler Hero, maybe Wiggins and some picks. If you're Milwaukee, you're wanting a real stud young prospect, right? If you're going to lose Giannis. And I think Khalil Ware is really looking the goods. So, frustrating as it is to acknowledge, Khalil Ware really looks like a player, man. What's he shooting? Like 50% from downtown as of late. He was a handful, but the Knicks, credit to them, they figured it out. Mike Brown made some key adjustments. And obviously, man, like I said, Brunson is completely unstoppable right now. Prezi the boss, great to see you in here. With Brunson, right, the 3-point ball isn't really, well, a couple of late shots, the big one from Hart, the big corner 3 from Brunson off a Mitch save from the inbound. That was a back-breaking play for the Heat. And the New York Knicks, hit some late shot clock, momentum threes. But obviously Brunson did most of his damage getting into the paint. The little floater game where he's got the defender off balance too was money. And obviously you got Jaime Jaquez, broken ankles, fallen to the ground. But Jalen Brunson wasn't able to hit that 3. But that was a highlight play. And look, Brunson's playing the best ball of his career, right? I don't hesitate to say that. Obviously, we've seen playoff Brunson, and we've seen so many different versions of Brunson, but he's just doing it so effortlessly. Like, it don't feel like he's dominating the rock, in my opinion. And I really like the substitutions from Mike Brown. He's playing Brunson for the whole first quarter, same as Tibbs, but he's helping Brunson get into that rhythm, right? Then he can have a longer seat, but we're not kind of stressed about having to bring Brunson back in the game, if the game gets out of control. Brunson can have that rest now because Clarkson's coming in and he's helping out with the scoring. Cat gets more of a shot with Brunson on the bench to get some touches. OG, Kolek, and look, we're going to get back Deuce McBride pretty soon, and obviously Landry Shamet at some point, barring any other move too. G Money's in the building. Great to see you, Doug Fresh. Mitch with 10 straight free throws, says Chris. Hope this confidence can keep it up moving forward. Yeah, look, it seems real and it's completely legit. He's changed the form and it's really helping him out. And the reason I can say that is because it's helping Hart as well, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to clean up some of the stuff in the chat. Salute to everyone in the building. Hit that like button. You got the Nick Streets buzzing. Josh Hart, the 3-point ball has improved a lot for Hart this season, and the coaching staff and the shooting coach has really, really helped Hart out. The same thing with Mitch. So that's something where I think it's tangible. They've practiced, they've worked on their form, and it's really starting to help out. As a 3-point shooting team, we are ultra dangerous when Josh Hart is a real threat, and you have to close out on him. Right. And I really feel like, look, I want to, give more shine to Tyler Kolek because it's subtle changes. Obviously, he's playing significant minutes. He's been playing for a while and those minutes are going up. Right. But I think he's a 3-point ball away from being a 25-minute a night, every single night kind of guy for this team. What does that mean when Deuce gets back? I think they'll figure out a way to, to make it all work. Maybe Clarkson gets moved. Maybe Clarkson minutes go down slightly. But you got to continue to play Tyler Kolek. And the more he's producing, the more minutes he's going to get because he's got that feel for the game, the passing. That pass to Mikal Bridges, cutting to the rack. It was a perfectly timed pass. Mikal just mishandled the pass, but it was a perfect, dime from Kolek. And look, the ball just moves really well. Breen and Clyde shouted it out, but the second that Kolek got the ball and he swung it straight to Mikal in the corner, and Mikal rose up for a quick three in transition. It's just those heady plays, man, from Tyler Kolek, right? The point guard school out of Marquette, right? He is really cementing himself as a surefire NBA rotation player on a championship level team. And it's just beautiful to see, man. We've been crying out for, point guards over the years, fam, and to have Brunson, to have a guy like Kolek now as the backup with Deuce McBride is just, a great situation to be in. We didn't really need to bring campaign back, and obviously the backup point guard is solidified in my opinion, right? Look, if they make that move for Jose Alvarado, depth, I'll never, I'll never be mad at that. But I do think Tyler Kolek is deserving to be that surefire backup right now. 20-8 on the season, man. 12 games over 500. Big test against Minnesota coming up next. That one's on the road. I do think the Cleveland game on Christmas Day, whilst not disrespecting Cleveland, they are struggling. They are struggling in a major, major way. And the pressure, the heat is starting to really turn up on Kenny Atkinson and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know they've not been healthy, but I do think that Christmas Day with the crowd, the way the Knicks are playing, I'm expecting a win on Christmas Day. But I do think the next one against Minnesota is going to be one of the bigger tests too. Prezi the boss says, based on BSPN, they should be back for the Christmas game, according to Prezi. So salute. Yeah, look, Deuce ain't far away. You're definitely on point. Deuce, I think, is going to be back within the next week. David says, I can't believe we finally have a point guard like JB. Thank you to Leon Rose. We'll continue to thank Leon Rose, but the job ain't done yet, man. In the words of Kobe, late great, rest in peace. The job ain't done yet. Brunson's on a mission to complete this mission, and he's chosen to accept it, come to New York City, take less, bring his winning teammates from college. Leon Rose has pushed the right button so far. And look, when Deuce gets back, if we can get another rotation wing level player with the ball movement with Kolek, the 3-point pace and space, Shamet, let's not forget, man, Shamet has heart. He's going to be a big factor with this team too. Michael says, man, that pick and roll with Kolek and JB. What about JB with Mitch? Connection for the lob. That's a pretty thing to see. And I'm really seeing JB's point guard skills evolve and that skill set come out. Mitch is really diving hard to the rack as well. But yeah, I can't say enough about Kolek. El Tango says Kolek looking more comfortable every game. Got to keep playing him. He's earned it. I don't think Mike Brown's, has any intention to slow down any minutes from Tyler Kolek. And I do think he's going to, his minutes are probably going to go up. He's, like you said, he's looking more confident. I just think that 3-point ball, which he had a couple of great looks, they just didn't go down. But if they do, Tyler Kolek, man, he's going to be a 25-minute a night NBA point guard for the rest of his career, fam. He's a 3-point ball away because he can get into the paint now. His quick first step is really coming along, and his left-handed tight dribble too. And yeah, our New York Knicks bury the Heat, which is great. Just like I'm burying some trolls in the chat right now. Shay's signature salute. Prezi the boss says, I hope the Don don't disrupt our current chemistry. But if we do make a trade, I'm hoping for Sadiq Bey. Get Yabu Dardier out of here. We need an easy plug and play piece like OG and Hart. Look, I think Leon Rose understands what this team could do with. Obviously, you don't touch Kolek, Deuce, you don't touch Mitch. But yeah, a guy like maybe Yabusele Dardier, like you said, possibly even Clarkson. Not because I want to move on from Clarkson. I think he's, obviously been super useful and an upgrade on campaign. However, you look at Clarkson's salary, fam, it's 3 mil. That could be used with Yabusele to get in a bigger salary, you know, a bigger a bigger piece, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, Altango agrees. I think Sadiq Bey would be a winning move for us. Like, I've got to check the salary, but it's going to be tough to match. And I'm certainly not move on from Josh Hart. I know some people, wouldn't hesitate to move on from a Josh Hart. But I mean, look at the way Hart's playing, knocking down those threes. He is a lion Hart and a glue guy for this team. And you don't want to mess up that chemistry right now. Right. I was really hoping Brunson could get that 50 piece. Obviously 47 points. The Heat were going to foul, and then they refused to foul late. That would have put him on the line with a chance to get to 59 with 2 free throws, but they decided to give it up, wave the white flag, and the Miami Heat walk out of MSG with the L, ladies and gentlemen. But they were a handful, like Khalil Ware, Harkwez, Norm Powell. They did their thing. But yeah, the Knicks defense did clean up and tidy up. It's been a grueling schedule for our New York Knicks, and I do think that they're probably still tired. The whole Vegas situation, facing the back-to-back shortly after, was, a tough situation to be in. But we've come out the other side now with 2 big wins, and obviously the tough loss against Philly, but we've bounced back now in a major way. In terms of Kolek v Alvarado, I wouldn't mind having both, says David. Can never have enough good backup point guards. Yeah, look, we know Deuce's strong, side is more off ball, catch and shoot, wing, secondary playmaking. To have another 2 guys would be great. I want to give a shout out to Diawara too. Prezi the boss says, you see a guy like Diawara slowly becoming more comfortable. Summer League's going to be fun. Diawara is still super young. I know he looks like he's 25, 26, but Diawara is like 21, and it's shaping up to be a steal in the late second round. Once again, Leon Rose shout out. Diawara can that big rainbow 3 in early in the first quarter, I believe. Didn't get many minutes late, but Mike Brown's already told us the plan for Diawara. He's like, look, I kind of need to play him. I don't have to play him every game, but I'm going to try to get him in to every single game, even for spot minutes, just to build up his confidence, build up his his game, and obviously Thibodeau, wanted to coach a different way. He's like, look, if you can't help me win, I ain't going to play you. Whereas Mike Brown, he's thinking more long term. He's thinking, down the road. He's thinking, look, if I can just get Diawara in for 3-4 minutes a game, even if he ain't going to play in the second half, it is going to help in the long run with the playoffs, the long road ahead, to get Diawara those minutes as well. And look, if he's knocking down the occasional 3, that's great. That means he's got that skill set that he can knock those shots down when he continues to work on them as well. And I do think Kolek's in that same situation. Once Kolek got that pull-up 3, we know he's got a touch. He can shoot. I think it's just going to come down to those reps with TKO. But obviously, he's already shown us some of those Brunson savvy moves, getting into the paint, quick low dribble, right? Getting the defender on his hip and then scooping it up with the lucky left as well, right? He's showing some veteran plays. And look, Kolek, 4 years college, 25 years old right now. He's ready to go. He's ready to rock. And I do think he's a surefire rotation player for us right now. We might continue to see some, we might see when Deuce gets back, we might see Kolek, Deuce, Clarkson minutes, right? 3 guys that can take over and handle and get that ball moving as well, because they can all knock down shots as well. So yes, it is undersized, but obviously I think we could do with another 3-4 man. I think Trey Jemison, solid 3rd string backup, center. If you want to play Cat Moore at the 4, you've got Mitch, you got Huck Porty, you got Trey Jemison. So I don't think it's an urgent need to get another center, but I do think a 3-4 man. I did see a rumor today, the Knicks being linked, to not Trey Lyles. It was another power forward in the way of Dario Saric. That's the name, Dario Saric, with the Sacramento Kings, ladies and gentlemen. We know Mike Brown. There's those relationships with Scott Perry too. And I do think the Knicks, that could be a link to watch where the Knicks could be looking at a guy that can play a stretch four role. Obviously, Yabusele, as each game goes by, man, his minutes are decreasing. DNP tonight. Prezi the boss says, look at Coach Brown actually coaching. So, look, it's been a home run so far. I know the business end of the season got to come, got to prove it. Players got to lock in. But so far, just at this point in the season, after firing Thibodeau, it could not have gone any better. Fam. And the Knicks, it's hard to believe some of them, some people clown the Knicks for either firing Thibodeau or hiring Mike Brown. It just goes to show that you got to let the professionals do their job. And Mike Brown's a very experienced coach, and he's obviously learning from his past failures as well. Shay says, how about that power forward from Portland, Tumani Camara, like his skill set? Yeah, I like him as well, fam. I don't think Portland are going to let him out of there, but, we might be able to tempt them with some picks. I got to check the salary on that. But yeah, I do like that player. Bradford Salute says, I want Kolek to get time with JB. He is playing a lot of time with JB. But yeah, I think we'll continue to see more of that too. Yeah, I'm on the Instagram. I'm on the YouTube Live app with this one. My studio setup is back at home too, but we're getting a ton of trolls come through the chat. Samuel Cortez says JB and Kolek are good on the floor. Let's continue to play them. Yeah, 100% agree. Brunson's a killer off ball, just like Deuce. And for those people that felt like Brunson's never a true point guard, well, he is a point guard, but he's just such a great player off ball as well. He can fill in that shooting guard role. That's how blessed we are in terms of scoring threats. Altango is not a fan of Saric. Absolute cone on D. Yabusele is a cone on D as well, fam. Yeah, it might be a sideways move, but it just might be a guy that Mike Brown will trust more. And I agree with his decision to sit Yabu. I think Yabu, I don't trust him right now in these big games. Yeah, you could play Yabu against Indiana like we did on the road. You could play Yabu against Charlotte. You could play him against, the Brooklyn Nets, sit some other guys. But I do think in these big games that you're trying to win and you have to win, it's tough to trust Yabusele right now, especially when you got Dardier. Not Dardier, Diawara, or Dardier even. Probably trust Dardier even more. And look, shout out to Dardier. For those that don't know, 28 points. Highest scoring performance in the G League yesterday. So Dardier showing that he wants to stick around. And I had a big scoring performance with the Westchester Knicks. But I just feel like his timeline just isn't on the Knicks timeline, right now. But look, clearly they're trusting Diawara. He's more stout on the defensive side. And when the offense starts to come along more with every single game, I think it will. I think Diawara is a sponge right now. He's got pro-European experience too. Prezi the boss, salute, says, yeah, it makes no sense, CT. Like, don't you see him talking to the players when he takes them out? Yes, you make a mistake, but here's why, and he sends them back out. Or have a seat. I'm putting you back in later. Yeah, look, I think one of the key things that came out when we hired Mike Brown that I heard was he's a players coach, and we heard some doubters like Matt Barnes say that he's too nice. He's too much of a players coach. He's just trying to facilitate and acquiesce to every player's needs. But, he can put the hammer down. Mike Brown can get on guys and, it's a very tight locker room. You don't want to be too tight on them. You need to be player friendly. And clearly Thibodeau was rubbing the wrong way with some of the guys, just a little too much friction with Bridges and Tibbs or Cat and Tibbs and, been grinding away. Mike Brown's got those relationships where he's not come in like a bull in a china shop and just trying to, change everything. He's facilitating these guys to get comfortable, which is great. Glenn Jones, great to see you. Love stacking wins in the East. Yabu got to get out of here for more active big. Let's keep these wins rolling, says Glenn Jones. Salute. Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about Cat. Samuel says Cat has been playing bad ball. He has to stop acting a fool. Um, stop acting to get, the foul call, and stop arguing with those refs. Um, yeah, look, it's a bit of both. Cat is not getting a good whistle. He deserves more foul calls, but yeah, I feel like Cat's got some kind of ego because of his previous success, his skill set, his shooting ability, and he wants to be more of a focal point. That's the way I'm seeing it. We know his quotes early season. I think preseason kind of said, "Look, I don't know my role yet." I think clearly Cat wants his own team, or he wants a team where the ball runs through him a lot more, and he's just going to have to learn to play in the system better. I think where if he's not getting the ball, not pouting, not causing these frustration fouls and all of that. Otherwise, Cat will get traded, fam. It's a one stop. It's an express train all the way to try to win that championship. Leon Rose is going to pull out all the stops to get us there, fam. And if we fall short, best believe there's going to be that major move in the summer as well. So, Cat, this could be your final season as a Knick. You got to get right. You got to fit in. Clearly, you're not the number one dog on this team, Cat, and you have to play in this system and not hurt this team. With the silly fouls and the hooking and all of that. It's getting tiresome. Truly is. I mean, that one where he even got the layup, Bam was complaining. He had a real argument where Cat did chicken wing, Bam Adebayo's arm and kind of hooked him under with the chicken wing. But, Cat got away with that one. But then there's a couple that he didn't get away with as well. Now, OG, slow start to tonight. OG came on strong. 9 points, I think, in the third in a flurry. His shooting is up and down at times, but yeah, OG being aggressive, cutting, getting into the paint was definitely a handful for those other guys and opened the floor up too. Look, another thing with Kolek out there and Clarkson with Brunson and when Deuce comes back is we could play a lot faster. That's what helps the Brown system, fam. When we do have those three guards, right? When there's Cat, an OG, or Mitch, we have to play a lot slower. That's the thing with Cat. He'll sometimes fall down, and then we're slow to get back. But we do play smaller. We can play that fast-paced game with the ball can just move like a hot potato. So we get those threes up. Roberto salutes his wing stop has elevated its play. I can see the absence of McBride. Watch out when we are healthy. Yeah, and Shamit's size, tenacity too. Prezi agrees with the Cat situation. Got to stop complaining. You notice he was playing better and getting calls when he was shutting up. Yep. I think that's just always going to be, man. A leopard don't change its spots when we're talking about a cat. You just, like I said, he's just got to keep his head in the game. Realize that there's bigger prize on the line. Put egos aside. Now I'm not, like every player's got some chinks in their armor, some flaws to their game, but Cats are just glaring. That's why we're hitting on it right now, man. Is Cat a true winning player? The jury is still out in terms of skills. Amazing. We know what he can do, but to be a winning player, you got to suppress your ego and you got to, play in the team concept, right? And not let your teammates down, not let the coaching staff down with all these boneheaded turnovers and sloppiness. James, salute. Fire win. Brunson, 47 points. Greatest scoring game at Madison Square Garden for JB. Of course, he had 60 against the Spurs, I think, on the road. In terms of Mike Brown, yeah, the season's just been going great. El Tango says Coach Brown isn't Tibbs. He's not going to keep putting up with Cat's nonsense. He's going to be held more accountable. If not, I think they'll look to trade him end of the season, right? Yep. And look, there's rumors, there's not full reports, but there's been people talk about Cat wouldn't mind his own team in terms of just being the focal guy. He's just a hard one to work out, is Cat. I mean, when he's on. He's absolutely dominant. But the the thing I want to stress is, guys, the fine margins are so slim between getting to where we need to be and falling short. You want to win that NBA championship, right? You got to cut back on the turnovers. You got to be disciplined defensively. You can't give the other team momentum in key stretches, and the Knicks still got to clean that up. As dominant as we are very good at giving the other team momentum to get back into a game. How many times did we get up 8, 9, 11, and it looks like we're about to blow the game wide open, and then we let the other team back in? They go on a little run. It's back to 2. Sometimes we give up the lead, but Jalen Brunson or someone else will come and save us again. Right? We can't afford to continue to give the other team momentum again. Right? We need to stomp on them, right, and act like a champion and finish the game off. It's always a slog. It's always cardiac. Concentration got to be key. And that's why I do like having that second point guard on the floor. I love Josh Hart, but he can be boneheaded as well. He plays on adrenaline. He's a bull in a china shop kind of guy. In the playoffs, you need to be steady, right? You need to be steady. That's why I like Kolek with Brunson. Maybe even Deuce out there. I know it's small, but it could work out for key stretches when you want to get up and down. Look how Indiana played last playoffs, fam. They were an absolute juggernaut offensively, pushing the break. They literally pushed Cleveland to breaking point. They were playing so fast. Cleveland could not keep up. They were getting injuries left, right, and center, and bodies were going down. And I think if we want to play fast, I think playing with those extra point guards will help it out. Because Mikal can guard 4s on a switch. OG can guard, 2, 3s, 4s, 5s on switches as well, even if we do play a little bit smaller. Like I said, my one main gripe was Mitch should have played more tonight. I would have sat Cat late in that game. I mean, Mitch was hitting 10 out of 10 free throws, 10 of his last 10. I think he could have been out there late. Queen's Place salute. Detroit next up, Doug. Yep, Detroit, we're coming for you. Let's go. So we're just 2 games back of Detroit. They got a big win yesterday. Let's see. I'm not sure if Detroit play tonight. I will check it out. But 47 points, 9 dimes, 0 turnovers, right? JB turned it up. He's playing the best ball of his career, in my opinion, is JB. He's just deadly. He's unstoppable, right? You saw Miami try to bring the trap. He moves it on real quick as well. And look, the 3-point ball is absolutely dynamic, right? You're either going to foul him, you get under him, and if you close out too hard, he'll blow by with the left, the tight dribble. And look, like Mike Breen and Clyde continue to say, fam, it's unbelievable how some teams still don't take away the left of Brunson, right? And Kolek even. Like, everyone should know Brunson's a lefty, but they're still giving him the left sometimes, right? Because he's strong with the right. He's ambidextrous, he's slithery, puts his head down. He's got that tough, strong upper body where he can kind of push you off as well. Davion Mitchell's a pit bull, and he's a guy that will slow you down, and he did slow Brunson down in that first quarter, but you can't slow Brunson down for 4 quarters. The Knicks won the second, the third, the fourth quarters as well. So that's what you want to see, right? I want to see us start to dominate games, like win all 4 quarters or win 3 out of 4. It's tough to win every quarter, but if you can win 3 out of 4, you'll win every single game, pretty much, man. Unless the one quarter that you don't win is a atrocious game, atrocious quarter, then you will win that ball game. Yeah, Michael says, sorry, Cat wins us this game with the 3 stops. Cat, he can lock in, he's done it before, and, his length, he just needs to stay vertical. Clyde was on him tonight for kind of moving in to Harkwez. But yeah, I just think the whistle did frustrate Cat tonight as well. It was a more abnormal, frustrating situation for him. Normally we don't get this many follies. Tuesday's a huge one against Mini. Says Shea signature, salute. Yeah, I can't wait for Deuce McBride to get back. And look, it's a good thing that, look, he's had a little bit of rest, silver lining in the injury with Deuce, right? Um, who would have thought that we would continue to surge by missing one of our best players, still top 6, 7 rotation player? But Clarkson has really stepped up, given us some bench scoring. Salute to him, salute to Kolek, Diawara giving us a little bit, despite Yabu being out. And this is what we wanted to see last season. You know, when Thibodeau had some injuries, what did he do to compensate? He simply played the other rotation players more minutes without getting anyone else in, not getting anyone active. What did we see in the playoffs? You know, DeLon Wright stepped up. Shamit finally got dusted off, you know, showed that he's capable. And everyone's like asking themselves, like, why didn't Thibodeau do this earlier? We're seeing that now. Mike Brown's using injuries as an opportunity to trial and play some other guys. And what happened when he finally started to play Kolek? Now we're talking about Kolek sanity, Kolek chaos. None of that would have been talked about if Kolek didn't get a chance. Also, we don't win an NBA Cup without Kolek's big performance in Vegas as well, right? Kolek stepping up tonight in a major way, right? It's kind of like not many people are talking about Deuce because we're just functioning without him, and we will be better when he comes back. You know, it also opens the opportunity and possibilities for more trades and leverage when it comes to some other guys as well. We're more flexible too. There's some guys in the G League that could deserve a shot that aren't going to get a shot, like Dink Pate, McCullough. Dardier had 28 points last night as well. He was our first round pick. He can't get out on the floor as well. Tosan has looked decent when he's been out there as well. So we still can sign the 15th guy. We only have 14 roster players right now. And surely at some point, barring trades or no trades, in April, the Knicks can add a 15th guy. Maybe they do try to convert one of the two-ways and then sign a different two-way. Maybe they just, you know, sign a veteran buyout guy for that 15th spot. Let's see, man. But Leon Rose has got a lot of options right now. And I do think with the impending free agency of Mitch, guys, I do think around the league, you know, I do think Mitch loves playing in New York. And if the money's the same, he would stay. But there is going to be offers when Mitchell Robinson does hit free agency, assuming the Knicks can't reach an extension agreement, which looks like that's passed. And let's see, Mitch is going to take it to free agency. But you know, he's betting on himself and he's delivering right now. If he's knocking down free throws and he has a huge playoff game series performance again, right, I think there's going to be a lot of teams try to get themselves a Mitch. David says, I'm not worried about regular season, Cat. I'm more worried when it comes to us being deep in the playoffs. Great point. The stakes are higher. The margins for error are smaller when it comes to the playoffs. And yeah, you know, one swing play either side could change a game. We saw, you know, and I don't put this on Cat, I did put it on Tibbs, the first game against Indiana, right? The game we all want to forget. Well, guess what? We'll never forget because you got to learn from your mistakes. That game against Indiana, I would not have had Cat on the floor. The only way Indiana could get back into that game was by shooting threes. And Cat was out there on the floor, and Aaron Nesmith went crazy, right? If you want your three-point defense to be the best it can be, you need three-point defenders out there. So that was one glaring, mistake from Thibodeau in that one. And, Mike Brown, I think he's more managing, in-game management has been better, getting guys in and out. Like when Clarkson made those couple of turnovers tonight, man, he did not hesitate. Substitution, Clarkson, you're out. And he was bringing back in Kolek. When Kolek missed a couple of shots, and he was struggling a little bit, he changed it up. He got Josh Hart back into the game as well. Mike Brown not hesitating, not playing any favoritism, not overplaying players 45 minutes. He's just playing the game according to how it's going, which is great. But tonight I did feel like Mitch should have closed the game out a little bit more. But Mike Brown was obviously thinking offensively and, keeping the scoreboard ticking up. 132 points tonight. The Knicks are top 2 in the league in offense, and that is going to hold us in great stead for when these playoffs do come, fam. So, yeah, big shout out to the squad. We're getting Deuce back real soon. And looking forward to seeing this next one against Minnesota. The last game was fun against the T-Wolves. We beat them at MSG. It was a tight, close first half. The second half is when the Knicks really showed their championship talent, beating the Timberwolves, and blowing them out in the second half. It was a huge third quarter onslaught. Let's see what happens and how tight Minnesota play in this next one. They're looking to make some shake up as well. Naz Reid, who knows what happens with DiVincenzo, Randall. This could be the last time we play Minnesota before either team maybe has some different players on the squad. And it just feels good to bounce back and get a big win against our rivals today, the Miami Heat, too. Next week is a new chapter. We do get, we got Cleveland then on the big Christmas Day game. The momentum that we can get if we win these next two, we'll be coming for that first seed. Fam, we'll be coming. Queen's Place, what was Kolek's plus minus tonight? Let me just pull that up too, fam. So, yeah, to answer Queen's Place question, yeah, Kolek, fam, plus 16 in 22 minutes too. 3 of 6 from the field and got us some rebounds as well. So, yeah, plus 16 for TKO. And he's just going from strength to strength, man. Off topic, Shay says, but what do you think about Mike Brown? Is Jamison's father? They look so alike. Man, Trey Jamison, great game against Indiana. And I do think that, Mike Brown is obviously understanding what this team needed from last season. I think we needed a guy like Jamison, another gritty big man, right, that can mix it up, a bruiser type. Now, a lot of y'all wanted Isaiah Stewart last season. Stewart's making a heavy salary, so I don't see us making a move for a guy, a bigger piece like him. But a guy like Trey Lyles, I'm not sure if he's healthy. I do know Mike Brown likes him from the Sacramento days. Dario Saric is more of an offensive player who the Knicks have currently been linked to from Sacramento. He would provide some stretch 4 ability that we're hoping to get out of Yabusele, but we just haven't. We haven't yet. And look, time is running out for Yabusele. I know it's so early in the season, but you could say 10, 15 games. Okay, it was a little bit of a funk, different team, slower start. But where we're at right now, man, if Yabusele ain't going, I just don't see it happening. I think it's just tough on the defensive side. He can still knock down the occasional 3, but I think we need Yabusele to be more sound defensively and just move better. You just ain't moving well. I'd rather have DOR out there. You saw him able to stick and stay in front of his man and, cause chaos and get a deflection, be disruptive and all that. And think how young he is in his career. So he's got upside. He could just go, with confidence and with more playing time. But a guy like Yabusele, what's the excuse? He's 30 now, and he has that player option, right? One key reason Leon Rose could look to trade Yabusele is that player option, right? We all thought that he was definitely going to decline the player option right now. Well, that's no lock. Yabusele, if he doesn't get traded, he might want to pick up that player option, right, and stick around because he might not make more than 5.5 for next season too. But yeah, I got to agree with David. I like Yabu as well. He wants to be a Knick. He's real excited, passionate, always posting on X and Instagram. Looks to be a good chemistry guy as well. He's trying to fit into that squad, but just from a basketball standpoint, it ain't fitting in right now. And obviously, when your salary is trade friendly, that just could kill 2 birds with one stone. when the Knicks look to make or solidify the rest of their roster right now and maybe elevate some younger guys. I mean, Dink Pate, 6'8". You want to make sure that he doesn't get picked up by someone who he currently can. He's with the G League, but he's not on a two-way. He could get snapped up by anyone. You got guys like Mikal he could be, last few years on a two-way. You need to, decide what you're going to do with him. You've already got a Dardier who was a first-round pick who ain't getting any opportunities, right? The opportunities are running out for Yabusele because they need to go to someone else, right? You're given a 20 to 25 game runway, that's enough. If you're looking sorry after that, you really need to get prepared for what might come. Yeah, like Queen's Play says, he was one of the guys I was most high on in terms of pickups, but it just goes to show, I think he was thriving on a losing team last season, and maybe the system was a key, kind of factor as well. If we're more of a Tibbs half-court grind, slower team, maybe that would suit Yabusele more, but the up and down system, because it's hurting him defensively as well. If we're playing at a breakneck pace, for a heavy guy like Yabu to get back in transition, he's gassed, literally for 2 minutes. You might need to play him for 2 minutes spurts because, he's probably going to be gassed. But look, on the plus side, opportunity comes knocking for someone else. And like I said, with Kolek, if the door never opened for Kolek because either an injury for Deuce or if Brown just decided not to look Kolek's way, we wouldn't be getting what we're getting. And it's been a blessing so far to see. And who the heck knows? Maybe we would have seen this Kolek breakout last season late if Campaign wasn't here, or if Tibbs had trusted Kolek a little bit more. Look, players just need confidence. You got to trust in them. For anyone that's managed people in situations or been a tutor or a teacher or some kind, you know that people can develop real quick. And if you give them the right tools and the right, path to pick things up, sometimes they just need that confidence as well. If they've got the ability, I mean, all these guys are pros. They've made it this far. So I do think, Kolek just needed that opportunity, and obviously big summer he had, coaching and training and playing with Brunson every game. In sessions, no doubt he's picked up a lot of tricks and things from the other guys too, including Deuce, who's a willing teacher as well. Michael says, I'm telling you, if Mitch continues to hit his free throws, man, pay the man his money. Shout out to the coaching staff. I think Mitch wants to stay in New York City, man. He loves being a Knick. He's the longest tenured Knick. He loves that he holds that card, the longest tenured Knick. And then I'm not sure who's second. It might be Deuce McBride right now. How ironic, 2 second-round draft picks, the 2 longest tenured Knicks, homegrown as well. We might be adding Kolek to the mix. And look, Jordan Clarkson's 33 years old. He's not here for the long term. He's here for a quick ride, cup of coffee. Kolek's a guy that I think should stick around. If Clarkson has to get traded, if Kolek continues to improve, I would definitely keep him ahead of a guy like Clarkson, who's very short term. Last season was short term with Campaign. Look, 1 season, one and done. Didn't work out with Campaign coming back. He's still quite young, but back to the homegrown situation. Drafting Kolek, developing him, rookie scale contract. That's important to keep these guys around, for chemistry too. Kolek could be Brunson's backup for the next 6, 7, 8 years, fam. That would be awesome. Because continuity. Every season, we've got our backcourt, point guard, those guys coming back, practicing, training together, training camp, and continuity is going to be awesome, man. I hope we can keep Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, Mitch. That's our bench. Develop Diawara or Dardier, or maybe sign another younger wing, draft another younger wing in this draft coming up. That's our 5 backup unit for continuity. Ariel Huckporty here as well as a backup. player development. Michael says, bro, if the Knicks make the finals, man, I'm taking a checkbook and a loan out to get celeb seats. Get it, man. Get it. The atmosphere, the garden, man, it's like no other place, man. I've got to get there as well. It's going to happen. I've been to games in LA at the Crypto, formerly the Staples Center. But yeah, the energy, when they're the noise they're creating for Mitch knocking down free throws. I thought tonight the crowd was awesome. The Thunder Sticks were out. Now I'm not sure if it's always the case, but I've been talking about our guy EJ on past episodes and streams, and you guys have been talking about creating that environment at MSG to be more hostile. But today, man, the Heat missed a lot of free throws. The Thunder Sticks were out. And Fontecchio, I think he missed like 4 free throws for such a great shooter. That affected him. Harquez missed a couple. Bam missed a couple free throws as well. So, yeah, don't let the Knicks get more second-round picks, man. We're going to find more Hukporties, Diawaras, Koleks. That Washington protected first, right? Apparently, according to Chris Persianen reporting from Clutch Points, is that the Minnesota Timberwolves do have interest in that Washington protected first-round pick the Knicks have. Why? Because it's most likely going to convey to 2 seconds, but 2 really good seconds. It could be the 31st pick, where you could get kind of a first-round talent, but you don't have the guaranteed salary that teams have to give. Which is great to avoid the second apron and the luxury tax and all of that. So don't sleep on that Washington protected pick, right? And if the Knicks keep that pick and they select in those second round slots, they're probably going to find another go-getter like a Tyler Kolek, a guy with a chip on his shoulder, and a guy that has the ability to play up to his draft standards as well. Because as we get close to that second apron and this thing, maybe Mitch's extension gets more expensive, we end up maybe moving on from a salary like Cat. We can find more talent if the back end of your roster is on a cheap contract as well, fam. So we do have a first round pick in this upcoming draft, and next season we possibly have those Washington protected seconds as well. Too, that could help us out in the Giannis deal, like David says. Then we should pull Minnesota into that potential Giannis trade. Yeah, I think it's not going to be a two-way trade because I can't see I can't see Milwaukee wanting Cat and OG, with not great picks. I could see them wanting those 2 players, but for better picks as well, right? With the Miami package we saw tonight, Khalil Ware, is absolutely shooting, on fire recently, shooting 50% from downtown. He's scoring above 20 points a night, and he's still so young and raw, fam. Let's be real. As much as we hate the Miami Heat, Khalil Ware is what Cleveland fans and that Hoodie Garland guy hopes that Mobley could be, fam. Evan Mobley hasn't taken that step up yet where he can help carry the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. I feel sorry for Donovan Mitchell, man. His back's hurting that much. He's been carrying the Cleveland Cavaliers. He can't continue to carry them at this pace. Otherwise, his back is going to break down. He's been carrying Garland. He's been carrying Mobley. Kenny Atkinson kind of been found out a little bit. And obviously, they lost some of their depth. Ty Jerome. I know DeAndre Hunter. They got him from ATL, but, Cleveland's they're in the play-in, man. We can bury them on Christmas Day, fam. We can bury them. But Khalil Ware is what people are hoping Mobley could be, man. He's just knocking down every single 3, putting people off the dribble, and he's finishing around the basket as well. And he's so young. So if I'm Milwaukee, man, I'm not sure what picks they can offer, but I do think the Miami package is intriguing from a Milwaukee standpoint. right? Let's see what Leon Rose can do. But that's more of a summer thing. I think the Knicks aren't going to make a major shake-up this season for two reasons. One, I can't see Giannis going straight to Milwaukee and forcefully asking to be traded. They know the writing is on the wall, and they know that situation is coming. Where he's not going to finish his career on the Bucks. And I disagree with Young Goat saying that Giannis will retire a Milwaukee Buck. But let's see. Maybe he is just trying to force Milwaukee to make another all-in move. Look, one thing's for sure: if the Bucks don't start winning and don't show that they're capable, then I think it's just going to be more, straightforward, in terms of the shake-up. But with us, we are a surface level move away, right? We don't need to make that blockbuster move. Now, we might go for it if it's available to us, but for this season, I think we just need a surface level move. And that's what Rich Paul also agreed with in terms of the latest podcast with Max Kellerman, with their podcast. I do think just a surface level move away. And that could be as much as a guy like Kolek and Diawara stepping up, Deuce coming back, Shamit being a major factor. Or it could be as simple as getting a backup wing who can knock down a few shots, Najee Marshall, Ayo Dosunmu, someone like that. Jose Alvarado would be a solid addition for depth. I don't know if that's a needle-moving move. That, along with something else, could be. But Jose Alvarado just alone by himself, I don't think is going to change things too much with the way Kolek's currently playing. Now, if Deuce gets hurt again in the playoffs and, Alvarado's there to pick up that defensive, role that Deuce plays, then that's going to be big, because we know Kolek's not a lockdown defender at the moment. But I still do think that, we need a little bit more size. It could be a guy just to fill in that Yabu role, the role that we thought Yabusele was going to give us, the production he was going to give us. And look, maybe Yabusele just snaps into gear and he wakes up. But, we've seen a lot of guys on the trade block and it just clicks. I don't think it's no coincidence that Kolek just started to ball out of his mind. He knew the kind of the way the winds were blowing. Mitchell Robinson, slow start to the season. I think Mitch has understood the situation now. He's playing for an extension. He's playing for a potential Knicks career and a championship at stake. He's picked it up. Clarkson would have heard his potential name in trade wins. He's stepped it up over the last 2 weeks during the NBA Cup. I don't think it's a coincidence if Yabusele or someone else were to, like a Dardier, try to step up their play. Some players just need a wake-up call. It's just like, you get slapped, you get woken up, and it clicks. Players do got to play with that desperation, man. This is high stakes, right? This is the highest game, the highest league, the highest situation at play, where the Knicks were favorites to come out of the East, right? They're not playing for Charlotte. They're not playing for a Brooklyn Nets, where the season is kind of already written. Bay played at Villanova, says Roberto. That's a good point. I haven't heard any concrete links. I do know the Knicks fan base is high on Sadiq Bay's game, as am I. I think he's rough and rugged. He can rebound. He can knock down shots. He's a rough rider. I think a guy like Royce O'Neal could be cool. To a more silkier extent, Chris Middleton could provide a little bit of defense and some shot making if bought out. We ain't trading for Middleton's salary, but if he gets bought out, which I expect he will, then I think it's probably an 80% chance Middleton will get bought out. There's no need for Washington to hold on to that $30 million salary and, possibly risk winning some games down the stretch, right? They want that number one pick. AJ DeBansa, fam. You got Boozer, you got Boozer's son out here. This could be a generational draft coming up. Brooklyn, Washington, Charlotte, Bulls. They want to lose, fam. And I do think, If they can save a little bit of money and buy out a Middleton, it will happen. Then there might be some better names. I'm not just calling out Middleton. Sexton could get bought out. Although Charlotte might like to keep him around. But again, I don't know if Charlotte really want to win any games, fam. LaMelo Ball might get traded too. Yeah, Clarkson, I won't be surprised if he sticks around. He's got to accept his role, though. When Deuce gets back, his minutes will go down. But he's got a little bit of size, can stretch it, shoot, play make. Clarkson's been an excellent veterans minimum signing. As frustrating as at times, you can't buy production like that for a veterans minimum, man. We won the NBA Cup because of a guy like Clarkson's, eruption. But yeah, I'm super looking forward. I'm super hyped for Deuce's return. Landry Shamet might be a little bit longer away, but I do think Deuce is going to be back within the next 7 days, probably for the Christmas Day game. We'll see. The Knicks are very silent on the injury updates, but Deuce is coming along strong. But Kolek, our bench is deeper and stronger, and more guys that Brown can trust. Huck Porty, DNP today. I felt sorry for him because he deserves to be playing more. But he's just got to stay patient, be ready when his number's called. Maybe these back-to-backs as the season goes along, and Mike Brown really needs to think about the playoffs and keeping guys healthy. Maybe in the final 30 games, if the standings are where we hope to be and the Knicks have some breathing room, fam, and we can be, 5 to 10 games clear of the next team in the standings, whether we're in the first or the second seed, if we have enough separation, maybe Mike Brown in the final 30 games of the season can really, focus on keeping guys ready for the playoffs, keep their minutes down, and start to trust more guys in these games with Jemison, Huck, McCullough, Tosan, Diawara, and let Kolek run the show a little bit more, fam. New York City Grey says, I'm sorry, but Middleton, like Brogdon, needs to retire, hang him up. But I can understand sticking around to collect the money. Yeah, I think Brogdon, from what I heard, and look, you take this with a grain of salt, but Brogdon's obviously earned great money, but I felt like Brogdon's passion and love for the game just ain't there anymore. Yeah, a lot to do with his game, definitely declining. But I do think a guy like Middleton, his passion and love for the game is a lot stronger. And a lot of these guys just love playing the game at the highest level, and they still want to win something. I respect a veteran that's willing to sacrifice and able to accept their role. The aging star that I don't respect is the guy like Bradley Beal and those guys that still want to earn their bread and still want to be a major piece in the rotation when you're clearly not helping the team win. You're taking money, you're clearly injury prone, and you clearly ain't helping the team. But a guy like PJ Tucker who just wants to stick around, mentor, help guys, be helpful. Those are the guys that I respect sticking around. Now, is Middleton willing to do that? I don't know. I know Chris Paul wants to continue being a menace in the locker room. He wants to continue telling coaches to do this, do that. He wants a major role still at 41, 40. It's just so sad, man, that CP3 situation with the Clippers. The fact that he couldn't bite his tongue for just 9 months and finish his career with his homegrown team, that literally the farewell tour got cut short because of egos, man, it's just crazy. I mean, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook was able to kind of accept a lesser role. Yeah, some of the egos these guys have, there's a reason why the Knicks don't go for CP3. They don't go for a Russell Westbrook and some of these other bigger names, right? Leon Rose knows all about it. And he wants to keep that locker room, harmonious as well. So we'll see what happens, man. Yeah, the Middleton thing, like David says, maybe Middleton and Giannis are still good friends. 100% they're good friends. I mean, they won their only championship together. Obviously, there's a ton of respect, for those guys too. Doug says, Leon got a plan somewhere down the line. I trust him. Yeah, look, he's turned this thing around pretty quick with some good trades, drafting, some signings as well, fam. It ain't easy to turn this thing into a contender in 4 or 5 seasons, right? It's been, significant, and he's kept a hold of some of the homegrown pieces like Mitch and Deuce and bringing in more of these other guys. Now, is Dante DiVincenzo the next thing that he wants to, reacquire? It's quite rare where you reacquire a player in a short period of time. I do remember there was a guy, who was the last guy that we that left and we reacquired? You guys might be able to help me out. I'm sure there was a bigger name in the last 10, 15 years where the Knicks traded someone, reacquired them, later into their career. I do think Jared Jeffries is one of those guys that we reacquired. But Dante would be one of the best, the chemistry is already there. The winning pedigree, the shooting is legit. Think of the boost that would give this team if they were to, able to keep most of the core intact and get Dante back. If it's a case of, draft compensation, Yabusele, Clarkson, and Dardier to get a Dante DiVincenzo back, no brainer for me, fam. Mark Jackson, Tim Hardaway Jr., that's the one. Buzzer beater comes through in the clutch. Appreciate Queen's Place as well. Timmy Hardaway Jr. was the guy we reacquired, but we re-signed him as a free agent, man, because Steve Mills gave him $80 million. Fam. Marcus Camby was another great one. Glenn Jones. Yes, Kurt Thomas as well. I'll throw that one in there, fam. Tell me y'all didn't feel great when we re-signed Marcus Camby, Kurt Thomas to come back and help out the squad as veterans, fam. MJ Burks as well. That's a great one from David. Yeah, there's a couple. There's definitely a couple, man. Trey Burke as well. Trey Burke, fam. Dennis Smith Jr., I believe. Derrick Rose, fam. Derrick Rose. How could we forget that? Right. Didn't work out with the Phil Jackson's Knicks. Derrick Rose come back. Arguably had one of the greatest stretches of his career with the New York Knicks. So, yeah, we can say goodbye to a guy and get him back. Right. Some sick part of me feels like Kristaps Porzingis might finish his career or might, play again for the New York Knicks at some point in his career on a veteran's minimum. Yeah, veterans minimum only. I wouldn't pay Kristaps any form of, sizable salary or money. I know he can't stay healthy right now, but he's still young, and if he wants to be that veteran backup center, some point later in the future. Ray Felt, another great one, fam. Ray Felton, fam. Quentin Grimes, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, too injury prone, Queen says. New York City says love KP, but his career is pretty much over. Yeah, let's see. Maybe he can get over this health. It seems like it's a mysterious health situation. But yeah, KP put his body through a lot. That's one of those things where I'm not fully convinced on Wembanyama. Ability, sky's the limit. Talent is all there, but we're seeing those guys that are abnormal, and it's okay to say their body is abnormal. The human body is not supposed to be 6 foot, 7'6", 7'4". It's just not built that way to stay healthy and do, a rigorous, physical sport or physical career at that size. It's just not meant to be. They are defying the odds, and every game they play, there's a chance for something to happen. Manute Bol, Sean Bradley, a lot of these guys had shorter careers. But yeah, the reason I said the KP things, you could tell in his interview when the Knicks beat Boston last season and he was in that locker room, man, he was almost like apathetic. He was just, normally a player would be completely distraught, inconsolable. that they're exiting the playoffs. Porzingis just seemed kind of upbeat, almost apathetic, and he was shouting out Knicks fans. He was like, "Hey, the Knicks deserve this." I mean, he's a homegrown player. He understands what the project was with the New York Knicks, trying to turn them back into a winning team again. And I do think KP would have been open to coming back as a vet minimum guy later in his career, even as a part of a winning team, if he can be healthy, but that appears to be quite slim right now. Ralph Sampson, salute the buzzer. Brittle bone situation. Look, KP kind of, he's one of those guys that in a short period, achieved his aim in his life, his career, because winning a championship, he helped Boston. He wasn't the guy. He wasn't a winning piece. He wasn't the main piece, but he was a winning player. And Boston don't win that championship without KP, man. He had a crazy finals game where he went on fire, fam, and couldn't miss. I think he had like 20 or 25 in the first quarter. But yeah, back to the Knicks. I mean, Mitch, Hukporty, we're good at the center spot, fam. I just think if we can get another great perimeter defender, whether it be the 2, the 3, the 4, that's enough. I think we have enough to push, the OKC Thunder all the way. We can win the East. My prediction is that it's going to be either Boston or Detroit. I do think Boston's going to be formidable when Tatum returns. Hopefully they can knock out Detroit before or vice versa. And then, I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be Knicks Boston or Knicks Detroit. Right? Cleveland, too far back. I think they've got too much ground to make up. Orlando, maybe a year too soon. They need to make some tweaks. And they can't stay healthy. Franz Wagner's always hurt, fam. He could be the latest Porzingis, where he just can't, stay healthy for 82 and the playoffs. Embiid, I think even whether he's healthy or not, I think Philly still have a good team, but they're having a better season because of their younger guys stepping up. They could be a formidable second round opponent, Philly, if, the younger guys are clicking. But outside of that, man, ATL, they're not achieving what I thought they could achieve. Cleveland, the same. Miami, we're comfortable. We can beat Miami. It's going to be a tough game. We always know it's going to be physical, but I do think the Knicks have got the Heat's measure. Orlando, ATL, Toronto. I think it's going to come down to Detroit or Boston, fam. Out west, I do think it's either going to be the Rockets, Nuggets, or OKC. Fam. I think Minnesota's a little bit off the pace. LA, don't think they're deep enough, fam. Rockets, depends if they can be healthy. Reed Shepherd's really taken a step up with Fred VanVleet being out. The Nuggets are great. They've got good depth now, and the Joker's going to be the Joker in the playoffs. So I do think that, there's a good chance that the Nuggets could take OKC out before we get to the finals, right? I think I would prefer to face the Nuggets in the finals. So let's see. But yeah, NYC makes a point. We haven't played Miami with Hero yet. I know he missed the first one. Did he not come back for the second one and then he missed tonight? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he missed all 3. But yeah, I do feel like Tyler Hero did come back for a stretch and then he's got hurt again. But yeah, let's see how it plays out, fam. We haven't played the Heat with all of our full team yet either. That's a great point from Buzzer. Deuce McBride, Shamet. But yeah, Mitch is a domination and knocking down those free throws. So that's the biggest story out of this one, in my opinion. We've seen Brunson go crazy, but this ain't nothing new. 47 points tonight. Highest scoring game at MSG. The streets are buzzing. Let's see you all post-game live against Minnesota and then the Christmas Day game, fam. We're all hyped to 20-8. What a start to the season, fam, at home too. One of our best starts, if not the best start. I think if we had beaten Philly It would have been our best start to the season at home. We lost to Philly, but we got this one back tonight. So regardless, you don't win no trophies for the regular season, despite this NBA Cup, right? The biggest prize is that NBA championship. We've got to break that drought, right? Next year is going to be a lot tougher. And I think the time is now. Leon Rose is going to make some consolidation. Maybe it's DiVincenzo, Alvarado, and says goodbye to a couple of the guys underperforming. We're going to find out. The trade season's opened up now. Things could happen any day. I talked about Derrick Rose. You know, that happened early in December, fam. Remember that? When we got Detroit, we got D Rose from Detroit. That happened early. Leon Rose knew what the team needed. He went out and swooped and got D Rose in. This season could be something similar, although we already are basically in the new year. So it could be an early January kind of thing. I think you probably want to see Deuce come back, see how Mike Brown can work that rotation with Kolek, Deuce, and Clarkson together. Maybe Diawara playing some small ball 4. And we'll see with the bench with Mitch in place of Yabu. But yeah, let's go. I'm excited. Thank you for rocking with us in this reaction. And we'll see you all soon. Peace, blessings. Enjoy the holidays. Everyone stay safe. And we'll see you after Minnesota. Peace.